Welcome to New Realities. This is a very exciting show I have today with some very special guests who will be talking about the environment in terms of consciousness. My name's Steinfeld. The program is New Realities, and I'll just introduce the guests and then we'll go right into whatever it is that comes up. To my left is Desiree Hertog. She's an environmentalist. She is one of the founding members of the Academy for Future Science. Next to her is Dr. J.J. Hertog, and they work together, husband and wife, exploring the world. Dr. Hertog is the author of The Keys of Enoch, Book of Knowledge, and it's about his higher consciousness experiences. To my right is Nita Renfro. She is a writer, she's a healer, she has even interviewed Saddam Hussein and has written a book about that and is now into healing. To her right is Uncle from Greenland. He's a shaman, and he's really here in New York now to deliver the message from his elders about how to melt the hearts in humans, not the ice caps of the poles. So this program, for me, we hear a lot about global warming, and I think the Earth is in a natural cycle. I think, you know, there's been ice ages, and there's been shifts in the environment. There's been the sinking of Atlantis that my guests here have investigated, in Lemuria. The Earth is in a cycle as a great being herself. Yes. We, humans, are really an extension of the Earth. So I don't think we're doing anything that the Earth itself doesn't want done. So maybe we're supposed to raise the temperatures and the Earth will go through its next phase. Maybe we're assisting that level of consciousness of what the Earth is. So what I really want to talk about is this consciousness of Earth as a Gaia, as a being, and how does that fit into what people say is global warming and consciousness? I mean, Desiree, yes.
Yes, I can start with that. Yes. This is exactly how the Africans, especially the Maasai, feel about the planet. When there is drought, that it has to do with the consciousness of man that's causing the drought. When there is storms, it has to do with the consciousness of man that's causing the storms. But that doesn't mean we should put up with it.
Yeah, but are we separate from the consciousness of the Earth? Are we just acting out what the Earth herself wants?
I think we can play a major role and transform the Earth. I think we can have this as the Garden of Eden if our thoughts and our consciousness are part of that thought form. But instead, we're here as capitalists, we're here as my husband often says, to be consumers, competition, acquisition, and consumption. And so what do we get from that? We get exactly what we're getting now.
Yeah, but is our consciousness as humans different than Earth consciousness? Have we fell off the wheel, off the, you know, and have separated ourselves from this consciousness of the Earth, or are we acting on behalf of the Earth?
If I can pick up this dialogue,
yeah.
Here in the West, clearly hyper-individualism has taken over, where we have separated ourselves really from feeling the vibrations and the rhythms of Mother Earth. Historically, the people were part of the vibrations of Mother Earth, but we have made this artificial separation between the sacred and the profane, and now we have to go back into a higher unity. We definitely have to see ourselves as caretakers of the water resources, caretakers of the natural non-renewable resources. We have to understand that we are all part of this vastness of Mother Earth waking up to the cries of her children. And in the deeper sense, we can then modulate our consciousness, we can unify our consciousness to do the corrective work that needs to be done.
Well, this is what the JJ is talking about, what we talk about in our language, that we stop doing ceremonies.
You stop doing ceremonies.
Yeah.
You're not doing ceremonies.
We're not doing ceremonies in the world. And that's what causes the consciousness to shift.
Wait, why did you stop doing ceremonies?
No. People in the world stop doing ceremonies. The elders will tell you immediately that life is a ceremony in itself. Then how come you do not celebrate it more? I used to say to my grandma, "Oh, Grandma, we celebrate my birthday, Christmas, Thanksgiving, 4th of July." And she would say, "But that's 365 days in a year. So what else do you do for the rest of the year?" So it becomes really clearly evident that I stopped doing ceremonies as the New Yorkers have, as the world has stopped doing them. You come to places, we have one birthday a year, so we celebrate our birthday, but what else do we do for the rest of the year?
Well, what's the purpose of ceremony? What does ceremony do?
Ceremony is lift you up to your spirit to a new level of reality. You cannot. Imagine if this tree stopped growing.
Yeah.
She would be no more than just for the fire, because she would be not giving more fruits.
Well, it's so.
The way I tell you,
Yeah, go ahead, tell
I work with the Grail energies doing healing, and I have found that in physics terms, it's William Tiller, the quantum physicist, who explains it the best. And how he defines consciousness, and he does a lot of control experiments in consciousness and healing and so on. And he defines it as spirit being the energies of the higher dimensions, above these 4 dimensions that we're in, interpenetrating with these 4 material dimensions that we live with now. And what he says is that evolution is going to come from the heart, because it's the heart that that's the spirit gate, that's the organ that we have that connects directly with the 5th dimension. And he says that evolution will consist in the future of our sort of leaving aside. Right now we're gaining more and more awareness of the upper dimensions. There are more and more people who have the ability to heal in the world. It's coming down, this consciousness. And it comes down with ceremonies. It's ceremonies that bring them down. And I use the Grail ceremony, the Grail communion. But what he says is that in the future, we are going to be aware, we're going to be living with an awareness of the upper dimensions. And these 4 dimensions that we're living, these 5 senses that we have now, will be totally peripheral in the way that now the upper senses are.
I agree with Dr. Teller, the late Dr. Teller from Los Alamos, and working with Ingo Swann, the great healer, the great artist. We have in the illustration of my new book, The End of Suffering, that whole concept of the upper universe coming through the Arctic area like an eggshell being opened, and we see the inner living galaxy or the whirling galaxy of the new mind being put on as the higher consciousness that you speak of comes down through our body. And our body is like a grail, like a receptacle that holds the dynamic energy of change. But we must see it as a positive balance between the inner and outer worlds. Otherwise, we are simply riding a surfboard.
Right.
So what we see consciousness is like a global sphere in terms of the consciousness of this planet, but it doesn't stop there, and I think that's the important thing. It actually raises into the 5th and 6th dimension, where there are other beings of light who are actually here trying to help us as well, and looking at us and saying, you know, this is Schoolhouse Earth, and we've been given this, even it says it in Genesis, we've been given this planet to be the caretakers, and to see how we can handle our consciousness, our energies, and our manifestations, and this is what we've done.
Well, I just want to say, it sounds like we're saying 2 different things. We're saying the destruction of the earth, and we're also saying we're at the point where we're raising consciousness. These 2 things are diametrically opposed to one another.
No, they're one and the same.
They're one and the same.
One and the same. Remember, Earth, she will live.
Yeah.
She will live. It doesn't matter that you and I will live.
We're humans. We're part. We have Earth bodies. These are Earth bodies.
Yes. So we have to learn to coexist together. We are the one who left our traditions of you know, we don't do the ceremonies anymore. We don't celebrate life as a ceremony in itself. And when we don't do that, then we are left, the earth carries on.
Yeah, but Nita is saying that people are lifting their higher consciousness.
Some people are.
Some people are.
The people who survive will have to. The people who don't do that are going to be the ones that don't survive.
So we're going into great polarity between those that...
Yeah. And the other thing that William Tiller points out, that from a physics point of view, is he says it would be possible to raise consciousness if we had great spiritual leaders, because people individually, it's too late. We're not going to raise consciousness on an individual basis in time to
we need it
push
collectively.
back. Yeah, we need it collectively. Now the problem is that I see most of the spiritual leaders that I see out there have too much an ego, and ultimately it's like they have large groups of people and so on. The one person I see out there who I think could reach more, which I was thinking about, is the Dalai Lama. But the Dalai Lama is a Buddhist, and the Buddhists are looking. They're not focusing on this life and on the ecology, so he's not going to do it. But he's a person, I think, totally without ego, who could bring this. We need a catalyst.
Well, I think we are doing it. People are forming groups now. There's one.
No, it's not. These small groups are not going to help.
I think we have in the Parliament of World Religions, in the World Wisdom Council, we have the beginnings of higher cooperation to overcome what I would call the coincidence of opposites. We're at that point, the nodal point of vibration. Those who take the upper path can see the challenge and can reach collectively what needs to be reached.
But we have, what, 5 years, 2, 3, 5 years? I mean, we don't have
2012.
But through the
what do you-
technology
We don't
of
have-
the
we don't-
world spirit,
It's too late.
I don't think
Well,
it's
that's
too
I
late.
think that's
I
where
mean-
that's where
We
the
need to
table's
embrace
divided.
No, but you here
No,
don't think it's
we
too
also
late.
embrace
Alan,
global
Alan,
warming.
Yes,
can I
yes.
just speak for a moment?
Yes, please.
Nothing is too late. The only thing which
Thank
is
you.
too late is the humankind.
We're
Right,
too
right.
late.
To
okay.
reverse global warming is too late.
It's too late. You
Well,
cannot reverse that anymore.
So when you suggest we live with it, we
Yeah.
do the
Embrace
best
it.
we
We
can.
embrace
we
it.
have to raise our consciousness to a new level of reality within.
Well, how do we do that? Because that's what this show is about,
Yes.
really.
The-
How do you suggest we raise our consciousness, be aware of the earth, and integrate harmoniously?
This is what the
in this-
indigenous people are telling
How are
you.
you doing it?
Melting
Tell us how
the
you do
ice in the
And
heart
how
of
do we do
man.
that?
Melting the ice in the heart of
How?
man is beginning to using your knowledge wisely.
Well, give us something. Give us some
They are-
knowledge to melt.
I asked that question. I asked it because my mom just stands there in front of me. It's a small woman, beautiful, beautiful woman. She said, "You're just going to have to learn to melt the ice in the heart of man. And only by melting the ice in the heart of man, man will have a chance to change."
Okay, but how do we melt the heart and the
See,
ice of man?
If I may speak on
Yeah.
Uncle's behalf, we work together at the Mbutu village in South Africa through your beautiful music. And my work with Alice Coltrane to bring a whole new vibratory spirit is the only way to do it, because technology is not sufficient. The small numbers game is not sufficient.
Yes.
You need a vibratory energy to incubate millions of people, and music will do it with the right spiritual synergy. And so you're singing.
Yeah, we are no more than energy, remember?
Right.
You know that already.
I know that,
We
and-
are no more than energy. That means that if I put my hand onto Nita and I am intentionally transferring my energy to her, and she will be able to do that, at the end, Desiree will be able to feel my energy because I'm intentionally doing so. So if you know more than energy, then you can do the same thing that you can.
See, I would
raise
also,
it.
I would
mean,
have
we're
to
coming
say,
to that agreement.
if we
Yeah.
can do that, if we can
Yeah.
start using that energy, just what you're talking about,
Yes.
I think we can also change the planetary system. I think we can change all things. We can change ourselves. We can become higher dimensional
Of course,
realities,
yes, I agree
and we
with
can
that.
change what's going on here as
But
well.
the only thing is that we can no longer stop melting the ice.
But
It's
you
too
know
late
what?
now.
Things always change, and I think the Earth is going through a natural cycle. Of course, the old traditions are dying out. They no longer work. That might be why people aren't doing traditions anymore, because there's something brand new that's never been done. I think the native peoples have to let go of the past and embrace something new.
Let me tell you,
Yeah.
in my land, the trees are now standing for 20,000 years. They laid on the ground. Now they're standing.
Well, isn't that great?
It's going to become a rose garden.
Well, aren't you happy about that?
I'm so
Actually,
excited.
there is-
But you were complaining
I know.
about melting.
But
Yeah.
I think, you see, I think that we need to look at Emoto's research for a moment, because what he does is he freezes, he puts intention into water, and he's demonstrated that you can photograph the crystals. And what I've been thinking is maybe the ice caps are like enormous crystals that hold the intentions of thousands and thousands of years of mankind.
good.
Yeah.
And it's time for them to melt, because we need to change the composition of the consciousness in that ice. And so it's going to melt, and we need to embrace that,
There's
because that's
no
the
doubt.
future, and we don't know where we're going to
There's
go.
going to be a paradigm shift. We all have to be
Right.
prepared for this shift, and we all have to be able to be flexible. I know there's a Hopi legend that says, even in terms of our own emotions, that we can't hold on to the past. We can't hold on to what we're used to. We have to let go and go with the flow, let go of the shore and go with the river, what's going. And then we can survive. Then we can see the oneness that we're all in the river together and help
We
it.
have to remember that the earth is only one country, and mankind her citizen.
Exactly.
Just because I live in Greenland does not mean that I'm not a citizen of Earth.
You're
Just because you live in New York City doesn't mean that you're different from Londoners. We're all one and the same.
But Uncle, you were complaining that we were destroying the
Yeah.
environment. Now
But
you're saying
you-
you're embracing this change. You were
Well,
saying
The only way I will be able to survive and have a good life is I had to learn to adapt.
okay,
Exactly.
that's a
That-
different
that's the
story
thing.
than you were
No,
saying
no,
before
that-
when you.
It's the same. What upset me in New York City is that New York City claimed that we're doing the right thing. You know,
What's the right? What do you mean?
recycling.
Oh.
New York City sells the garbage to somewhere else.
Well, I don't
We
know
talk
about that.
about
Of course, we have to
you know,
control our garbage problem, of
Yeah,
course.
that's what-
But it's still theirs.
It's
It's still there.
It's everybody's. It's not New
Yeah.
York City's, though. It's the world. And
Exactly.
yeah. Every white garbage is everybody's garbage.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a very good point. That, it's like recycling and changing light bulbs and so on is not gonna cause the global warming to stop.
No,
it's too late to do things
well,
like that.
Maybe.
But you hit upon something very important, and that is the fact that we are, in some instances, from 70 to 90% water, as human temples of spirit. And as we activate these biocrystals, and we can do it through music, we can do it through the satellites broadcasting positive energy and positive music, we can see a whole synergistic emergence of a higher spirituality of oneness and unity with Mother Earth and the Divine Mother. We can see this higher communion of spirit and of science for those who are part of this upward ascendancy.
And when I do the Grail Communion, I use water, not wine, because it's water now that is the sacred. That's the sacred liquid of the Mother Earth.
So it's the blood of the earth.
That's the blood of the earth, because
is.
the wine is the fire from the heavens.
The central
The
picture
water is the earth.
in the Keys of Enoch is the Grail being surrounded by all of the masters sharing the Grail, which is the spirit of light being poured out anew. And in this process, we all renew through our energies together,
It's a connection to the heart.
our hearts together, the great drama of the whole new charter of nations that wish to be, as it were, the futurist of a cosmic vision.
And we've worked with some of the ancient Gnostic scrolls, which is the Coptic teachings of the Christian Egyptians. And one book that we've done commentary on called Pistis Sophia talks about taking the wine and turning it back to water, because what it is taking the blood and turning it into the light body. And we feel that is part of our evolutionary stance. But it comes, as you said, with feeling that collectiveness, so that when things happen, we have to be
Water
at one.
connects us to the whole universe. It's like we're connected all the time. That's the one.
You cannot live without the water.
So
period.
ice, the ice is going to melt, and then we can create new ice with new intentions. And Iwako can photograph the ice caps.
Let me just say, my mother says that you cannot recreate the ice.
Because it's ancient.
It's ancient.
Well, we're recreating new ice, so it won't be.
We're recreating. So are we ascending with the earth to a higher level? The earth itself is a constant. It is moving, and its vibration is getting more and more subtle. And because of that, we're able to tap into the high. The veils between the dimensions are getting thinner. So we are ascending as consciousness as the earth is ascending, and we are going to embrace a new planet. This is the hope. It's not that it's too late. It's just that a new thing is.
It's too late to reverse global warming.
But is global warming a natural process of our own evolution?
It is.
Or is
It
it?
is.
It is.
It is.
It is. It is. At this time, it is different. We have never been 6.5 billion people before. This is the first time that we are so many of us.
Well, you know what Susan Weed says, and I interviewed her. She said when we get to 10 billion of anything, something shifts. 10 billion atoms, there's a new structure. 10 billion cells creates a new organ. So 10 billion people will be a dramatic shift.
Very much. Let me
You
just tell
agree
you,
with that?
Back home in the beginning of March, a chunk of ice from the ice cap on top of Greenland, a small chunk of ice, just slightly bigger than Manhattan Island, shifted. And the elders said, for the first time in the history of mankind, this heard a new language no one has listened to before. For them, that was exciting.
Wow.
For scientists, that was scary. But for them, for my elders, that was exciting. It was a language unheard by man's ear.
Because of the shift in this huge mass of ice.
Huge mass of ice, it came up with a language no one has ever heard.
It opened a doorway. I think this is what the keys predict, actually, in your book that was written in 1973.
Right.
Dr. Hertog predicts new languages and new thoughts because of the shift in vibration.
And we talk about a space-time overlap and different cycles that this planet has gone through. And so it's a matter for us to be aware that this is a new paradigm.
Becoming aware within. Remember, Alan, you are far bigger inside you than the big sky is.
Well, it's equal. I think
No,
it's equal inside as it is out. Infinite.
It would take
Infinite.
me. It would take me a few minutes to scan through the sky. It would take me a lifetime to get to know you. That's the difference.
Okay.
That's the consciousness we need to become realizing. It takes no more than just a few minutes to scan the sky and get to know where the stars are, but it would take lifetimes to get to know you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
This is the
And
whole.
that's the whole new consciousness we need to come to. I would not grow to become 7-footer, although I would love to be, but I'm going to have to come to a new level of reality within myself to see the beauty of Alan.
And this is what we speak of in terms of cosmic citizenship, that we see ourselves exponentially. It's still in a much greater living universe, a universe that's dynamic, that's renewing, and we are the cosmic DNA working together in this one greater body of humanity.
So we can go there, we can go with the shift by being in harmony, by helping to clean the planet and moving forward, knowing that the Earth itself is changing and we could change with it, or we can say, or we can say, let's stop this global warming, let's do something, let's fight it. We can say there's a natural way to move with the progress of the Earth, and let's find out what that natural progress is.
I just want to say, William Tiller also, he works with the physics of how this is going to happen, and what he's saying is that these subtle energies are coming down, and we're becoming more aware of the astral now in the fifth dimension and so on.
Yes.
And he says most people are not ready for that. So if it just happens without people being ready for it, these people are going to become schizophrenics and so on, and they're going to kill each other. No, because they can't.
I don't agree.
So that's why he says there needs to be catalysts. There need to be spiritual leaders who are catalysts to bring people along.
No, I don't believe there has to be spiritual leaders. I think, things are shifting. More and more people are awakening. Just this past week, I've met people who've had these awakenings.
Right.
Don't let people speak for the masses and say they're not ready. People are ready, and they're going to come to it, and we don't need leaders
But I don't know
to
if I'm
show
ready.
us. Well, you are ready. You're here. You're talking about it, so you're ready.
But who knows?
The,
when the
the
time
whole
comes.
consciousness is changing. In fact, CNN just showed a special, which we thought was very fascinating. And it was about a man who just walked into a church. He had been blind, legally blind. The scientists and the doctors all recognized him as legally blind. He walked in, he did a prayer, and all of a sudden his eyes started changing. And this came on CNN. It showed people that changes are taking place, that people who tune in to that higher nature that you talked about, or that God force, or that Christ force, whatever you want to call it, or the Buddhist force, are able to awaken that inner strength within them and be prepared for whatever is coming.
That's all we have to do. We have to, this is why I do the show, is to prepare people that there is a new reality coming. Be aware of it. It goes back to what Heraclitus says, expect the unexpected.
All things change.
All things change.
All things are
Einstein
flow.
said the only constant is, but welcome it. Yes.
Let me just say that this is the way my people speak.
Okay.
The greatest distance in existence of man is not from here to there, nor from there to here. Nay, the greatest distance in existence of man is from his mind to his heart. Unless he conquer that distance, the old one tells us, he can never learn to soar like an eagle and realize his own immensity within.
Well, I think people are feeling more. I think we're aware of the suffering of the planet. I think that is opening the hearts of
Some
many
people are.
No, everyone's aware. Everyone's aware that there is global warming. That is in the consciousness of the planet. Now, people will do something about it. The planet's too small. Internet has shrunk the planet.
Do you think that
to
within
the
5
size
years
of
that
your...
we're recycling and so on is going to solve the problem?
I don't know what is going to solve the problem. I mean, these guys are
There's a
working
lot
on
of
solving
science
the
moving
problem.
ahead.
But
There
I
is.
think awakening, melting the hearts of men,
And
is,
doing music.
is part of solving. And people walking into their own sense of prayer and sacredness, doing their own ceremony.
That's
Ceremony.
Ceremony.
Bring ceremony into, but not formal ceremonies, individuals understanding.
That if it was only one kind of ceremony, how boring the world would be. Holy shit, it would be boring. Imagine to have this beautiful ceremony of Desiree and then JJ and yourself and
you do ceremonies with the grail.
So there's so many ways of celebrating with a ceremony.
Well then,
remember, there's not only one kind of mankind. We many. There are 4 colors. Remember,
or infinite.
The yellow in the east, white in the south, red in the west, black in the north. Those are the black at night. Those are the 4 colors. When you mix them all together, we will become incredibly diverse human beings who celebrate life with so many celebrations, and it's worth carrying.
So we're here to celebrate. I mean,
Yes.
celebrate our existence,
Yes.
celebrate the love of the earth, celebrate who we are as beings.
And the last thing I want to say, though, the water level has never changed on Earth. It's always been the same.
Uh-huh.
It has frozen a lot of that frozen into ice. When it melts, it will still be the same amount of amount of water, which in
I know,
on
because of that old
consistent.
experiment of the guy getting in the bathtub and it displacing the water.
Yeah.
The ice itself is the water frozen, so
Yes.
it's not going to raise the sea levels,
No.
although
it
No,
will.
it will raise, but
It will raise the sea level. It's just you and I, we need to change. That's
Okay.
the only thing which needs to happen.
and change how?
Well, one of the things what we do is we introduce sacred music, and this is part of our prayers of unity and tapping into that higher consciousness. Music is extremely important to share in the greater joy and the greater love. And also we encourage people every day in every way to do their prayer and meditation. It's going to help them heal the body because the planet's going through a lot of changes and there's a lot of chemicals, a lot of different things, solar flares. They need to stay centered and well balanced, and meditation, prayer, and singing are the ways to do this.
And by influencing great singers like Alice Coltrane and Carlos Santana, people like Ravi Shankar, we can reach tens of millions of people. We have reached millions of people who are no longer interested in the heavy metals destructive downward spiral, but see themselves merging into a whole new vibratory humanity. This is where we must go beyond the paradox of they versus we or I. We must see ourselves as being pluralistic emissaries of light. We must see ourselves as working with the ground structure that's going to sweep away these artificial distinctions and bring about the higher realization of why we're here to begin with and the great mystery of incarnation.
But I think that most of humanity is going to disappear with the coming climate changes and so on. You know, when the ice cap melts in Greenland, I mean, I looked at this on the internet the other day. The places where 50% of the people in this world live are going to no longer be habitable. They're going to be like New Orleans after Katrina, but the water is never going to
Most people live along the coastline.
and people are not prepared. People are not prepared. But that's part of what's going to happen, you know, because life goes on after death too. So it doesn't mean that that's the end of humanity.
The world.
Well,
it's just the end of this.
No.
But it's the end of the world as we know it.
Well, it's the end of the world as we know it. I don't think people have to leave the planet. I think we can integrate it. We have enough resources. We just need distribution. We just need consciousness. We just need awareness. I don't think it's too
Also,
late. We're almost out of time.
it's very important that everyone doesn't go into some cave somewhere, that we all stay and do our mission.
We're just about, I want to thank everyone. This has been very informative to me. I think really we're here to experience something brand new. I want to thank Uncle from Greenland, Nita from New York, Dr. Hertog and Desiree Hertog for being on the panel. I'm Alan Steinfeld. This is New Realities, and please let me know your comments. Email me, newrealities@earthlink.net, and we will pick up this discussion. And for me,